Rated E for everyone, and I mean everyone. Back in yesteryear of 2020 came out this game, and sure, you can consider me late if you want to, but hey, that doesn't mean I still can't review it. The game in particular that I'm talking about is Super Destronaut Land Wars. And you can pick up this game on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, and the PlayStation Vita. And the price is a whopping $4.99. Not bad, so you don't have to steal your mom's credit card. That's enough lollygagging, let's go ahead and get back on topic. So if you're unfamiliar with the Super Destronaut games, there was one beforehand, called Super Destronaut DX. The Super Destronaut series of games typically evolves the old school concept of galaxy space shooters. The first ones coming to mind being Atari Space Invaders and Namco's Galaga. Obviously this game seems to take a lot of inspiration from those, and for good reason. However, in Land Wars, it takes a much more different approach, deciding to switch genres completely into the first-person shooter's perspective. Now, hopping into the main menu, we have quite a few things to do here, and it looks typically like a classic kind of arcade menu. So yeah, I can agree that it definitely does give off the old school vibe that it should, so good on you, Super Destronaut. The options menu is your typical options menu for an arcade game, being able to change the music, sensitivity, and you know, other typical stuff like that. And the statistics menu lets you view data based on your gameplay, which is also a nice touch. And there's also an instructions menu, which is pretty self-explanatory. I'll give you a second to look at that. Okay, let's get to the gameplay. The main mode of this game is the challenge mode, which has different stages with different objectives. Some involve getting a certain amount of points, beating a certain amount of enemies, surviving for a bit, and upgrading stats. After successfully completing a challenge, your score is based on how fast you complete the mission. As you can see, I kinda, failed my first challenge. Don't laugh at me. The secondary mode of the game is the simple arcade mode, which is practically an endless onslaught. Simply just go around the map, shoot enemies, pick up the coins, and then later on, as you collect more coins, you can keep upgrading. You can earn more guns, movement upgrades to your health, and stuff like that. And other than that, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's an arcade game, so you can't really expect too much stuff out of it. The basis is pretty straightforward. You just keep on shooting enemies till you lose all your health. Back on the topic of the upgrades, my personal favorite upgrade would have to be the grenade gun. I just feel so freaking broken using it. Now that we've practically discussed the whole basis of the game, let's go ahead and get some positives and negatives, then I will give my final review. Visuals are a positive. I know graphics don't define a good game, but at the same time, I do really have to admire how great this looks. Neon mixed with classic style graphics, they look amazing in my book, and I really love that aesthetic. However, if you do have sensitive eyes, this game is really flashy, so I recommend that you only play for a little bit. Just take 10-minute sessions or something. As for content, meh. I know this is an arcade game and it's not supposed to have too much content to begin with. There are a few things that I wish could be changed about it. The arcade mode could get a little more revamp in difficulty. I kinda lost only because I got bored of it. I mean, it was fun for a while, but it stays too easy for a long time. Granted, there is a mode that increases the challenge a little bit. It's not much, to be honest. And there's like only one stage, and repeating playing on that same stage over and over, it gets a little bit boring. Controls, meh. They're not bad and they're quite fluid, but I feel like it could kind of benefit from gyro controls maybe. Add a bit of motion in it, especially considering that, Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation controllers, they all have the ability to do this, and I just feel like it'd feel a bit more fluid in my opinion. Challenge, negative. Like I mentioned before, the only reason that I stopped arcade mode was because I got too bored from the game being way too easy. The enemies are extremely dodgeable and aren't really that difficult to go up against. Not only is the arcade mode too easy, but the challenge mode is as well. I will admit that maybe some of the challenges can be a bit hard due to attempting to get a higher score or a gold rank by fast completion, but even then, the challenges are still way too simple to complete. An idea that can benefit both arcade and challenge mode is boss battles. And I mean larger enemies that can move across the entire battlefield and require a lot of hits to defeat. That could bring on some better challenge and replayability, or just increase the enemy spawns in general. Having some extra difficulty could also somewhat bring more of a competitive aspect. Price, positive. You are getting what you're paying for. It's a simple arcade game and it's only $5. That's a good price, and I really recommend, if you do like arcade games, you should give it a shot. It's not that expensive and it won't be too much out of a budget. Gameplay, positive. I may have said that the content could be a bit lacking and the challenge can be a bit lacking, but throughout my first playthrough of this, it really is a fun game to play. Personally, I could see myself replaying it a lot, as I really am a fan of arcade games, and having the movement and just shooting random enemies in a neon-like environment, it just has that nice arcade charm to it. Replayability, meh. Like I said, I would replay the game quite a few times as I'm a big arcade guy. However, this might not be the case for everyone because not everyone likes to replay arcade games a lot. This replayability ranking doesn't tie in to me as I would replay it. I'm placing that ranking into the perspective of someone who doesn't typically play those types of games, people who normally don't play arcades. And the lack of challenge definitely plays a role in that. When players clear all of the challenges because they're so easy, what's the incentive to go back and play it? With less challenge, people are not going to have the need to come back to the game at all. Now that we've talked about all that, it's time to give my final review. Taking classic gameplay concepts into a 3D environment is such a neat idea. While the gameplay is super engaging, it's held back by the difficulty being way too easy. This can turn off people's hopes for replayability. The gameplay is fun for majority, but why not expand upon it? Make a whole adventure out of this. This could bring more people into the game, and the concept can really work well if there were simply more things added to it. Overall, I think it's a good game out of the question. This game is really fun for the arcade experience, but I think this game could use a lot more added to it to make it even better than it is. In the end, it just feels like you're kind of playing through the same thing over and over again, which obviously calls for, repetitiveness. Does that mean that the game as a whole is bad? No, not really, but it could definitely improve. My final score rating is 7 out of 10. With that aside, I'm pretty much done with the review. I'm Firebro999 and I hope you all enjoyed. Remember that you can always purchase this game for $5 on Nintendo eShop, the PlayStation Store, and the Microsoft Store. What did you think about my review? I haven't reviewed a game in many years, but this is the first one I've done in a long time. Let me know your feedback in the comment section. Thanks.